All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Samantha Weisbach. I am the owner and general manager of Dancery Center, pronouns she, her, and I'm here with a very special guest today. I'm going to allow Kaitlin to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kaitlin McCarthy. I have several roles in the community. I'm a freelance dancer and I also make work, and I also run SeattleDances, which is a dance journalism and advocacy organization.
Fabulous. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. I would like to talk first about just can you tell us a little bit about the history of SeattleDances?
Yeah, absolutely. So SeattleDances was started sort of as a blog about PNB in 2009, I think. And then it was pretty soon after that handed over, changed hands a couple times of who was managing it, and landed with some dancers in our community, Anna Waller and Mariko Nagashima, in, I want to say like 2012. And or 2011 maybe. I started coming on as a writer in 2012, and SeattleDances really became more of a formalized journalistic entity at that point, where um, there was a staff of writers that was covering especially local dance, going to shows, doing reviews, previews, things of that nature. In 2016, myself and Megan Stevenson took over leadership of the website and continued that mission. And then it's been going on for over a decade. When the pandemic happened, we started to go for a little bit, but I simultaneously had a baby. Megan Stevenson got a more higher demand job, and morale was really low because shows were getting canceled right and left. So we kind of went to a reduced capacity for a couple years. And then we just had a big relaunch in January. We have a beautiful new web design, and also have really tried to refocus on supporting local dance and also providing resources for like inter-community communication, hosting a calendar that has all the area dance performances on it, and a call board, which is a way that people can say, hey, I'm doing this masterclass, come take it, or here's a grant that you can apply for to get money. So it is really intended to be a support resource to all the dancers in the Seattle community. And that is, we try to think about it as sort of more performance dance, and there's a lot of beautiful social dancing that happens, but we're really mostly focused on the performance aspect.
That's great. Yeah, I love that. Can you talk a little bit about how you got involved? I know you said you started as a writer, but what kind of sparked that decision?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the time, I think there was a bridge project show, and there was a review about the bridge project that I really disagreed with. And I ended up, I appreciate that person's perspective, but I was like, wait, counter argument, here's how I saw that piece, and blah, blah, blah. And I listed it all out in the comments. And Mariko at the time approached me and was like, hey, do you want to write for the site? It seems like you have a lot of opinions. So yeah, at that time, my writing journey began without any sort of formal training, which I think there is a huge kind of learning on the job thing that happens. And but it's really been an enriching experience because you write about art, you're thinking about art in a way where there's a lot of accountability. When you have to put your opinion out there in a public way, it means you really have to respect the art when you're viewing it and when you're talking about it. And it's also opened up some other training opportunities I've had in journalism. I wrote for City Arts for a couple of years until that folded. I went to a National Critics Institute and was a fellow in Connecticut last summer. And so like developing that skill set has been so rewarding. And it also has given me a lot of insight into like dance and what I care about, and art making, which is so fascinating to me to write about and think about.
That's so cool. I didn't know that that's how you got involved, so that's kind of fun. I love that. Well, very cool. Can you talk a little bit more about the website specifically? Because I know that I mean, I've been around for a little while myself, and I've seen kind of Seattle Dances go through this different, this kind of metamorphosis. And I
Mhm.
know that the website looks really, really cool. Can you
Thank you.
talk more about that and kind of what you're desiring to see more of, maybe how the community can help support that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing was sort of during the time that we were in a pandemic time in sort of lower operations, we used to have like, 3 articles coming out a week, and then it was like, 5 articles a year or something for a couple of years. And in that time, it did give us some time for me to talk to people in the community and be like, what do you need out of this? What could be really useful out of Seattle Dances? And one thing that we heard was, everyone used to use Facebook events to get out the word about their shows. And now a lot of people have left Facebook or aren't using Facebook regularly. And that, like, on social media, on Instagram, you're reaching your followers, but there's no public way for people to find out about your show. And so that's why really promoting a calendar. And we had a calendar before, but this calendar seeks to create some equity, because anybody who has a dance performance in the Seattle area can put their show on the calendar. So there isn't any like, a lot of other newspapers will say, oh, I'm putting this show on the calendar and this show doesn't go on the calendar. And so that is a hope for us to make sure that, no matter how small or big the show is, it has an opportunity to be on the calendar. And another thing was the call board, which artists I talked to said, oh, it's really hard to find out about auditions, especially if I'm not already following the person who is advertising the audition. Like, how am I supposed to find out? Getting jobs, getting grants, these things, especially this is another equity point for us because um, a lot of people who understand how the grant cycle works already knows about the deadlines, knows where to check, but it's a lot of work. And if you don't have access to that knowledge already, there can be a huge barrier there to finding grants and opportunities. So that was what I really wanted to put forward. And to get the functionality that I wanted, I knew it wasn't going to be possible through like a standard template. So we ended up hiring a local web designer to work with us to get exactly what we wanted in terms of the functionality. And now if you want to find a grant, you can go there and look at our grant list. And if you find a grant and you say, hey, this would be really cool, I should share this with my community, you can come and you can just enter it. There's a little form, you click a button, you put in the information, I approve it. I approve stuff every day, pretty much. And then it goes up there for the community to share. So really, the thing that I want people to do is just use the resource. It's absolutely free. There's no advertising on the site. It is run by people who are inside the dance community, who care about dance, who want to see it thrive. There are no ulterior motives. So, like, the resources have been created, and now it's just about making sure we have enough momentum, where people say, oh, the Seattle Dance Calendar is a resource because enough people are putting their shows on the Seattle Dance Calendar. If people aren't putting their shows on, then it's going to be like, oh, it's a little bit spotty. Some shows are on there, some shows aren't. And so I think it's really hard to do something as a community in like everybody's responsible sort of way. You have the tragedy of the commons, as they might say. But I see that there's a lot of community support and energy right now coming from all directions and all pockets of the Seattle dance community. People are starting to understand, oh, that artist over there, people going to that person's show makes people more involved and excited about dance, and they're going to want to my show too. And that, like, a rising tide sort of lifts all boats ideas, and as opposed to a scarcity mindset. So I think people are really in a place to be supporting one another, and part of that is just like participating in the resources that are on the website.
Yeah, I think that's so huge. And it's really easy to submit from what I've seen and what I understand, correct?
Yeah, there's kind of 2 options at the top of the site. If you go, you can say submit a performance. So that's anything that's a performance. And then, or you can go like list on the call board. I can't remember what it says exactly, but there's 2 options. And So things that are performances go on the calendar, things that are workshops, things that are classes, grants, auditions, all of that goes on the call board. And the call board is kind of more for people who are dancers and in the dance community already. And the calendar is, of course, for the public. If you search Seattle Dance, if you're coming in from out of state and you want to say, hey, I want to see some dance shows in Seattle, our dance calendar is the first thing that comes up on Google when you search for Seattle Dance. So it is a way for people to find shows, and especially as we, one thing Seattle Dances hopes to address is that in legacy media, there isn't a lot of consistent coverage of dance. There isn't a lot of adding our, especially independent dance shows, to sort of citywide arts calendars that are coming out of Seattle Times or The Stranger or et cetera, et cetera. And so this is a place where dance can be listed and can be found through the internet.
Yeah, that's so great. It's so great. Fabulous. Well, that's fantastic. Can you share a little bit about maybe what is coming up that might be new, or kind of where you're taking all of this? What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's continuing to advocate for the site and get people to use the resources. The more people that use it, I think the more essential it's going to become, and the less reliant we are on sort of Instagram algorithms and corporate interests. I think probably the biggest thing is that it's going to, start to be time to grow back our writer team and also get some more admin help. Right now, I have a board, but day-to-day operations, all the content that goes in there, it's just me right now. So I really need to get a listing out there. So if there are people who are interested in doing communication management and get sort of a second leadership person on board, so that then I can turn my attention back to the journalistic side, which is my true passion. And I have been trying to get out an article a month and doing some dancer spotlights where dancer writing about themselves in their own words, which has been really cool to just highlight local dancers. But in order for me to grow back the journalistic side, I have to get some of the administrative side covered. So right now it's kind of before we can take the next step, it's going to be about building up staffing, basically. Yeah.
That's great. If that's the case, I mean, how should people reach out if they're interested?
Great. Well, I haven't yet to make the listing. That's kind of the next big thing on my docket. But of course, anyone can reach out to us anytime. People email us all the time to ask questions about Seattle dance stuff. You can reach us by using the email editors@seattledances.com. And also, if you go to our website, we have a contact form. So you don't have to remember that. You can just remember seattledances.com. And then it says contact. And you can write there's a, email form on that site to contact us. And you can also message us on Instagram. We're at Seattle Dances. So that's kind of the two ways.
That's fantastic. Great. I think that's perfect. Is there or do you have any final words, anything you want to share with the audience before we go?
Well, I mean, I also think, as well as growing sort of our administrative staff, right now we do pay freelance writers. So if you're a person who is oh, I have an article pitch and I want to write this, and you're coming from an informed perspective about dance, and you want to submit an article, and if we publish it, we will pay you for it. So there aren't a lot of sort of easy to access journalism opportunities for dance writers. So, and we're really open to working with people in what they're passionate about. If it crosses over with what we're passionate about, we can, it's just me. So it's pretty flexible. We can work together. So I think that that's also a call to people who feel passionate about dance writing, is that we do seek for content.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't know that. So I'm glad you share. I'm already do I have people I need to let know about this? Probably.
Yeah.
So very cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for sharing more about Seattle Dances. I know that not all, like our audience, I don't think always has realized what a great resource it is. And so I'm really excited to kind of get the word out and share.
Well, I love what you all do supporting local dance, and it's great to talk to you. Thank you so much, Sam.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Okay.